Okay, I took the weekend off for making videos. It was good for me to not feel like I needed to make a video. So I'm feeling refreshed, feeling like I'm back at it this week. But before I forget, some of you may be wondering why I have not done that live yet that I've talked about. I cannot figure out how to make it work. If anybody is like a pro at YouTube or knows anything about how to do lives, will you please leave a comment for me so I can figure it out, because I really do want to be able to do them. And I thought it was just a matter of like getting to the 1,000 subscribers and then waiting a couple days, but it's been like, I don't know, maybe a week now or something, and it just still says I'm not eligible. So I'm getting a bit frustrated. Anyways, it's not because I tricked you into helping me get to 1,000 subscribers and now I'm not. I really am trying. Anyways, so today's video is going to be about feeling deprived when you're eating your meals and snacks, or just eating in general, I guess, but specifically like when you sit down to a meal. So when I first started recovery, and I see this happen probably in almost all of my clients, what happens is you start eating more food, obviously, right? You've committed to recovery and you started eating more food. But if you don't stay focused on what unrestricted eating really means and looks like, you can get kind of stuck with eating more but still following tons of rules. So let me explain. When I started recovery, I remember really celebrating and getting excited that I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think. I chose a bagel on my sandwich instead of regular bread. And I thought that was unrestricted eating, you know, because I changed slices of bread to bagels, which felt scarier to me. And since I was challenging my eating disorder in that way, then I was like, definitely I was doing recovery, right? And the problem is that people, myself included in recovery, you have a starting point, right? That's typically pretty restrictive. And then you make little changes and it feels monumental because you're looking at like what you were doing before, and it just feels great. And this is where people get stuck that are working with dietitians, because they'll go in for their appointment and they'll tell their dietitian, hey, I had a bagel on a sandwich instead of a bagel with bread, and they'll be like, good for you, that's so awesome, that's great. And then you're listening to that, and in the back of your head you're going, I could have had 10 bagel sandwiches, but she just applauded me for having that one bagel sandwich, so that must be right. That must be what I should be doing. I should only be having one bagel sandwich, because that obviously was enough, right? So I got stuck with that. I found myself really comparing with where I started at, and then any little change, right? Any little thing that I added was like, I must be doing recovery. Instead, what we need to do is forget about where we started. This doesn't matter anymore. This is the past. This is not where we're trying to stay. Look at where you're at now, wherever that is, less restrictive if you're in recovery, I hope. And then what we're trying to do, we're leaving that behind. Sorry, I'm visual and I use my hands a lot. So we're leaving the past behind. We're here now eating less restrictively, but we're still not all the way to eating fully unrestrictedly, which is going to lead us to full recovery, right? So now all we need to worry about is focusing on how do we get to unrestricted eating? What is it that's keeping us? Where's the gap here? What is it? Is it that I wanted 3 sandwiches and I only had 1 yesterday? Is it that I'm actually not eating the breakfast that I really want? Is it that I know I should eat that candy bar first thing in the morning, but I'm not letting myself? Is it I'm still saving my food up for later, even though I know I need to be pushing more in the day and letting myself eat later? Where is it? You need to start looking very carefully, because sometimes it can be sneaky. You need to ask yourself honestly, where am I lacking? And the thing that helped me with this, really became like a great detective of this, was when I sat down to eat. If I felt any form of deprivation, if I felt deprived in any way, I knew I was restricting. And I had to ask myself, how did the eating disorder have a part in this? Did I put as much peanut butter as I wanted on my sandwich or in my oatmeal? Or did I have as much chocolate as I really wanted after lunch? Did I think of ice cream and not let myself have it because I told myself I'd have it later? And so I had to start, why did I constantly feel in recovery? Why did I constantly feel like I was being deprived, even though I was eating so much more in recovery? And then that was what would kind of guide me to where it was that I was allowing restriction to sneak in. I was allowing the eating disorder I was bargaining with the eating disorder. I was allowing it to call the shots in times when I thought, well, it's better than I was doing, so this is good, right? So I just want you to, if you're listening to this thinking, oh, I get that. Yeah, I've been there before. I'm there now. I'm doing so much better and I'm eating more and I'm challenging things. But I'm still letting that eating disorder have a foot in the door. A lot of times that'll look like leaving a plate of food, right? It can just be that one act of just leaving a plate of food, or excuse me, a bite of food on your plate could be allowing your eating disorder to still have control. It could be that one other scoop of ice cream that you wanted and you stopped before. It was such a big bowl, it was so much more than you're used to having, that you thought it was enough, but you really actually wanted more ice cream. Just because you didn't go get that more ice cream, that is restriction. You've allowed the eating disorder to have control of that situation. So our goal here in recovery and getting to that place of unrestrictedly eating is to not allow any eating disorder influence in your decisions around food and resting and any kind of, ritual OCD behaviors. So kind of reflect back, and if you're having that feeling, like I said, the number one indicator for me was that feeling, almost a panicky feeling of feeling deprived. Even though I was eating more and challenging things, I just felt this state of deprivation. I was feeling panicky when I finished a meal, like, oh my gosh, when do I have to wait until I can eat again? In that meal, I needed to stop and ask myself what else I wanted to eat before I walked away from that meal. I had to make sure that I did everything I could in that situation to eat all that I wanted. Otherwise, I left wanting more, and then I allowed the eating disorder to take control. So hopefully this was clear and helpful for you today. Have a nice day. Bye.